Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Machan Leira Online Smicha. I want to discuss a halacha which is in Choshen Mishpat Siman Nun Zayin. It's a short siman, it's two sifim, but it has very broad kind of issues that it can connect to. As I'm saying this, I'm thinking to myself that as we know that this will be connected to the pasuk that it says in Iyov Yud Aleph Yud Dalid. The pasuk says, Al tishkoin ba'alecha avla. One is not allowed to keep something hazardous, something crooked in his tent, something that could cause harm. He shouldn't have available in his tent. So it seems to be borderline the same thing that you're not, what it says in the end of Choshen Mishpat, that things that are harmful, things that could cause damage, physical damage, you're also not allowed to have. But this is, over there it's Mitzadu Nishmarta Moed Nafshe Sechem, the mitzvah of Micah. Over here it's not a physical damage, over here it's things that could go wrong, disputes between people, cause animosity. You have to try to avoid it in advance. And the Iyov tells us, Al tishkoin be'elecha avla, don't let these things be around, because who knows where and what hands it might end up to, and what wrong could happen. And in Shulchan Aruch and in Gemara, Masechta Ksubas Daf Yutes, there are different examples. One example is to have a Sefer Torah She'eina Muga, a Sefer Torah that we're not sure that it's 100% accurate. Maybe there's some mistakes. People might end up using it for Kriyas HaTorah. But today we're going to focus on what it says in Choshen Mishpat Siman Nun Zayin. In Choshen Mishpat Siman Nun Zayin, it says about a shtar parua. The headline is the headline is Sha'asur lahashay shtar parua. If you have a bill that was paid, a document that was already taken care of, it was paid, you're not allowed to keep it around, because you can never know. Somebody might recollect on an old past due that was taken care of. So the Shulchan Aruch says in Sif Aleph, Asur lahashay shtar parua b'toich beisai. You're not allowed to keep a paid document in your home, because, as the Smeh quotes, because of this pasuk Al tishkoin ba'alecha avla, and who knows why is it a avla? Because somebody might recollect with it, even though it was paid for. The Ramah adds, it's not only if it was paid, hu adin shtar shenimchal shibudai. The same would apply a shtar that there was mechila, was forgiven. Now, the Smeh notes, isn't every paid shtar basically equivalent to a forgiven shtar? What is the Ramah adding? And he adds that it could very well be that the shtar wasn't paid completely, but there was a detail of the shtar that was forgiven. For example, a typical shtar has the power to collect from lekuches, from the people who bought properties during this period of time. If he was meichel that part, now it's not a status of a regular shtar. So he gave reshus to sell whatever, and nobody will collect from the lekuches. So because this is a shtar that could be misinterpreted, misused, you can't keep such a shtar. And the Mechaber goes on to say, the im eina roitza lahachzir shtar parua, and if one doesn't want to give back, he wants to keep it for whatever reason, he doesn't want to give back a paid shtar, roi lenadoisoi, it's proper, it's you're able to put him in chayrim ad sheyachzirenu, until he gives back the shtar. Now, when you look in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe discusses this in Hilchos Eidos Shtaris Shlishis, and the Alter Rebbe actually discusses this halacha, the last couple of sifim of this siman. But I found it interesting that earlier in Seif Chav Gimel, the Alter Rebbe teaches the dinim of where and when the Eidim sign on a document. So the Alter Rebbe says that in Seif Chav Gimel, Eidim should never sign on a piece of paper unless they saw everything that they're signing about. And unless they're very sure that what they're signing is accurate, don't sign the paper. The Alter Rebbe says, Ki chasimasam b'shtar, because their signature on the paper, it's as if they're testifying in Besdin. So therefore, have to be very careful, no sheker, no lie comes out of their signature. And the Alter Rebbe brings an example like this. If somebody wants to take a loan from his friend, and he's getting everything, all the paperwork ready, all the documents ready, so it should be easier when time comes, he should be able to get the loan, get the money from his friend. So he has all the documents ready. So and he wants to give it to him in such a way that when the time comes, he'll get the money. Says the Alter Rebbe in Sif Chav Gimel, Asur le'edim lachtoim al shtar chavzeh. This type of shtar that's early, that didn't happen yet, the edim are not allowed to sign. V'im chasmu, if they did sign, harehim k'me'idim sheker. It's as if they said false testimony. Says the Alter Rebbe, this part I find fascinating. V'gam hala asur le'lekabel shtar zeh. Not only the edim are not allowed to sign on a document like that because they're signing sheker, the person, the malva, shouldn't take that document at his home. The im kibloi, if he did take it home, he's not allowed to keep it in his house. Mishum shenemar val tishkoin ba'elecha avla. Okay, so the edim should not sign because it's a lie, and so too, even if it was signed, you shouldn't keep it around because something hazardous can happen because of it. Now, the Shulchan Aruch goes on to say, what happens if the shtar was paid for, but there's still strings attached that the malva is expecting more payment? For example, the malva is expecting the payment for maybe, in most of the places, the loiva paid for the clerk to write the shtar. The example the Shulchan Aruch brings of what happens if it was partially paid. Let's say the loan was of $100, and he only paid $50, so he doesn't want to give back the shtar yet because he won't have with what to collect. So, but there's a problem. The shtar says it's 100, and he only owes 50. Says the Mechaber, Avamutter lahashe shtar sholmana. You're allowed to keep a shtar that says $100 is owed to you. Afal pi she'ein chayev el chamishim. But the Mechaber adds a condition. V'hu sheyichtav shover al gabav mimash nifra. You're allowed to keep that shtar if it partially was paid, and you don't must give it back. In other words, you won't. We're not concerned about collecting the full 100 again, because you must write a receipt paid 50 on the shtar. On the shtar, either write where on that shtar already partial payment was given, or at least give the loiver a receipt for $50. So by this we avoid the issue, the concern you might be getting the first full 100 back. So according to the Mechaber, you're not allowed to, if he paid you only half, you're not allowed to keep it as is, because that could be a hazardous. That could be that you'll be collecting too much money again. But you have, if you write a shaver on it, you're allowed to. The Shach clearly argues on this. And the Shach says, even without a shaver, even without a receipt, or even without writing paid, partial paid, $50 paid, he's still allowed to keep that. He's still allowed to keep that shtar. And the Shach's defense is, when the thing was fully paid, I have no connection to this paper. It's completely an avla. It's completely something that could cause harm. But when money is still owed to me, and this is my way of proving that money is still owed to me, why shouldn't I be able to keep it? So the Shach holds I don't have to write a receipt anywhere, and I can just keep it because money is still owed to me. So I did see a shaila that's discussed in today's Achronim. In many cases, and there was one specific case where this came up, that there are certain stores or certain organizations that you have to leave a credit card number by them or a check by them. So, and every time you want to rent something or use something of that, that's their guarantee that because you have this deposit by them, you have the check. They're not going to deposit the check, but in case the item that you're taking breaks, they have that as a backup plan. Now, here there's a signed check that you're giving to the organization to hold. If all goes well, the signed check may not be deposited. just in case they use it as a backup. Why at that period of time would it be considered an avla? There's a signed check that I signed, a $500 check, and he might turn around and deposit it when I don't owe him a penny. So this was a discussion that was brought to it's discussed in the Achrayim Svarim. So in the Tumim, he says that is completely different, because that would be equivalent to a gather of a shalish. What's the din of a shalish? Shalish is a third party, what do they call it? A escrow account. Just like a shalish has the rights, in some cases, the shalish is more trusted, believed in what he's saying, how the transaction was done, even more than the malva or the loiva. And the reason for that is because he was chosen to be a shalish. It wasn't there by force. So you chose him, that means you trusted him. If you trusted him, he has full trust in whatever he says. So the same some say that when you leave a check or a credit card for an organization or individual as something to hold, it's not necessarily as a shtar parua. It's not equivalent to a shtar parua, a bill that was taken care of, that's given there. It was given to that person by force because I needed the loan. This is something I gave a beratzin, equivalent to a shalish, and that it won't be considered a problem of avla b'toich beisay. The Gra in Sifkat and Hay, the Gra says that there is no isser. There is no the Sifkat and Hay. He brings Gam Kain Dina Ka'amar. It's only the din. Avo Isura Leka. There is no Isser to hold such a star when its partial payment was done. So some based on the Gra, that it's not a problem. B'chlal, this will enter a whole other discussion. If leaving a check is equivalent to having a shtar chayv, is a check the same principle as a shtar chayv? The Minchas Yitzchak, Chelik Hey Siman Ayin Vav, he says that a check and a shtar chayv is the same thing. Well, others, the Har Tzvi, the Mishnah Halachas, Shevet Halevi, they hold it's not a shtar chayv. All it is it's permission for the person, for the malva, to go to the bank, but it's not a shtar chayv. Others say that a check is not nowhere near a shtar chayv. A check is begeder sit musa, and sit musa is what Chazal call skamas hasoichim. That's the way the business people do business, and they agree that this is a permission slip. Another concept is that when you left the guy the check, so he should have it in his house, so you at any time, or the credit card in his house, so you at any time should rent something because he has your security deposit. It's not a one-time loan like we have by here in our issue of a shtar parua. By our issues, a shtar parua, you're afraid that he'll recollect illegally. But over there, you leave it there, so at any time when you want to use it, whenever you want to use this equipment or this car or whatever it is, the renter has a security deposit. So it's completely different, and therefore, most of the Achrayim agree that in the case of a place where you're leaving a security deposit, it won't be considered b'chlal a shtar parua, that it's asur lahashes mishum al tishkin be'alecha avla.